serpents to me, I was learnt to douse several years ago, but the moment I realised that what I'm dowsing is organic, it is living, it is breathing, it has positive life force, then my dowsing improved significantly, because now I had a personal relationship. You know, some people, some kind of more nerdy dows, shall we say, nerdy dowsers, they see planetary grids and all this stuff, the energies are going across the land like a load of pylons. You know, how inorganic is that? You know, my serpents, my ley lines, if you like, are alive, and we can interact with them. And when I see the famous labyrinth, you know, the Michael and Mary current going up Glastonbury, it's just like the two coils of a serpent surrounding it. And it was, of course, the coiled serpents are going around the staff of Mercury and Hermes. And even William Stukeley, he was a pretty straight, he was a vicar actually eventually, and he was a straight God-fearing Christian man. Even he saw the landscapes on Avebury as like the body of a dragon. The sanctuary is the head, there's the avenue and the body of the dragon, and then going around the other avenue. So, you know, why would he say that unless he knew something what was really going on? So Yuri already mentioned the sun and the serpent. I thought I'd just focus on Avebury. I mean, look at this. How organic is this? There's the central axis. The modern road follows it down to Devizes and up over the Here path. And but look, it's like the two serpents going across the land, and the male serpent goes through more male sites, goes down the avenue. But look at the female site. The female serpent goes through Winterbourne Monkton, dedicated to St Mary. Surprise, surprise. Then it goes to Avebury, goes through Silbury Hill, the pregnant tummy of the Earth Mother, and then goes through West Kennet Loughborough, the womb tomb, if you like, of the Avebury area. So the nature of the energies seems to reflect the symbolism and the design of the sites it goes through. So there's Avebury, good old Avebury. I spend a lot of time there. I live quite near here, but it's looking a bit crowded, isn't it? So let's just say abracadabra. That's better. That's better. Oh, if only I could do that with a potential new Tesco's that they're going to open up in Caen. I'd be fine. So let's add a little bit more to that. Let's add a little bit more to that, and let's put the energies in there. There's the Michael and Mary serpent. And you can see the Michael current is generally coming through the north, and the Mary current comes across through a stone here. And this is the reconstruction of what Avebury was like originally. The sun circle, the moon circle, and you can see how the energies flow together. This is the only place along the whole St Michael line where I know they actually flow together for about 400 yards. Usually they just kiss or cross like at Borough Mump, or they just touch very briefly like on the top of the Tor. And look how the Michael current goes down the avenue. Mary current has gone over here to find Silbury Hill. It's looking for the pregnant tummy of the Earth Mother. Feminine symbolism. So these are the serpents. These are the serpents, I believe, that the ancients were dowsing. I mean, look at this. Look at the avenue. It's not straight. You know, they hadn't been on the mead the night before they built this. You know, it's meant to be, it's following something. It's following and penning in, if you like, the male current as it goes down. And this carries on for another mile over to the sanctuary. Amazing. All of this was known thousands of years ago. And when the female current gets up to West Kennet Loughborough, there's the serpents. This is the dragon lines going through. And a little spiral comes off into each chamber. It lives. These energies live. They are alive. These are the dragons. These are the serpents. And these two lines mark the width of the Mary current that we dowsed on that day when it's coming out here. The ancients knew all about this. They designed their sacred sites with what they would call dragons and serpents of their day. And very famously at Avebury, of course, there's this Norman stroke Knights Templar font, famously showing the bishop with his crozier holding what's said to be a Bible. I think it looks more like a pint to me, to be honest, but who can blame him? And there's two serpents just nibbling at his toes. See, he's not actually treading on them. They're actually almost biting his toes, the female dragon and the male dragon. So the Knights Templars knew what was going on at Avebury, and just over the ridge at Temple Rockley is where they had one of their bases. So, and there are dragons at Avebury. Oh yes, this is one of the stones called the Dragon Stone. Can you see two dragons on there? There's no prize for this, but don't be shy. I say there's one at the top, yeah? Yeah, with a spiraling and then goes round to a forked tail, but this is the one I like. Can you see him? It doesn't show up on this. He looks a bit sad. He's got his head down to the ground, and look at his body. and the folded up wings. These stones have only weathered between 2 and 4 millimeters in 4,000 years. So I can assure you that stone had those dragons on when the stone was erected. Is this why the stone was selected and chosen to be put up at Avebury? So dragons are everywhere if you look. At Crediton, where the St Michael line goes through Devon, used to be the Cathedral of Devon before they built Exeter, expanded Exeter. The Sun and the Michael and Mary current famously meet under the tower. And on the nearest column there are 2 serpents. What a coincidence. And they are the only serpents on the whole of the inside of Crediton Church. So what a coincidence that is, but of course it isn't. Somebody is telling us in Norman times that this is where the serpents are crossing. They are there. Everybody can find them. And this is a very powerful place. Has anybody been to Lostwithiel in Cornwall? Oh, a few of you, yeah. Have you put your forehead against the font? This is a Norman font, so it doesn't look like your average Christian bit of iconography, does it? And you can see how this has been worn by pilgrims touching it. This is on the side of the font. Across the third eye position is this spiral. And if you put your head there, wow, it'll zap you. It'll zap you. So clearly there's the mainstay of Christianity, and there's very much an alternative esoteric wing of Christianity, which is the stuff, the real deep, heavy stuff. That is the bit actually that's in truth. At Stoke Trista, south of here, on the Dorset border, I was dowsing 2 serpents following the Wessex Astrum line, and they both started spiralling in front of the altar. Can you see something's indenting the carpet there? Can you see? Well, the carpet wasn't nailed down, okay, and there was nobody around. So I peeled back the carpet, and there's this monument on there with serpents on it, just where the energies are spiraling round. This monument is so old, all the initials and whoever it was has been eroded off. So this could be, very old document. There's sun symbols, there's mirrors, there's all sorts, there's angels, cherubs. It's amazing. And this is a close-up. I had a look at the local heraldry of the local families of the church in the area. There are no serpents at all to do with the local heraldry. So I think somebody knew something. And of course, there's the interesting thing, is it chicken or the egg? You know, was this monument and this put here because of the serpents, or have the serpents been attracted to this monument since it was put down on the floor? Because symbolism does attract the energies. Isn't that wonderful? So go to Stoke Trista, pull up the carpet, preferably not on Sunday morning, okay? Another example of how dragons are all around and how we can interact with them is at Milburn Port, also South Somerset. I've tried to choose examples that aren't too far from here. Again, I was doing a bit of dowsing for Osho Leela. Some of you might have been there and lived to tell the tale. Yes, and one of the ley lines went through Milburn Port. I'm following the energy across the road into the churchyard, and the energy wasn't going towards the church. All of a sudden it veers off to the right towards the lamppost. I thought, where the hell is it going? There's a caduceus at the top of the lamppost. Dated 1902, the lamppost. So again, did the council workers or whoever paid for that lamppost know about the energy line? Possibly. Or, and I love this one, has the symbolism of the lamppost attracted the energies to it? Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So after that, the energies from the lamppost don't go straight into the front door of the church. They go round the side, and they go into the church where over the doorway are 2 dragons. That's where the energy chooses to go into the church. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? The energies, these serpents have consciousness. They will home in on the symbolism that's created. I did a book about the Cern Giant a few years ago, and this is Guy Underwood's drawing of the energies of his dowsing at the Cern Giant. And you can see how the energies actually mark out the shape of the giant, and then they flow up to the Iron Age Romano-British temple of the Trendle above. It's quite amazing, and I think I've given a good argument that there are links with Orion and Osiris with the Cern Giant, and that it is 2,000 years old. It's not a medieval folly. And I think Gary's going to talk about the White Horse at Uffington in a little while, but of course a lot of us believe it's not a horse at all. It's a dragon. Of course it is. One of the best places to see it from, and where the energies go through, I'm sure Gary will explain, is Dragon Hill. Now there's a clue. So that is a dragon, I believe, originally. And to me, it still is today. You can find dragons all over the place. This is a great example of the Christianization of a pagan site. Can you see the dragon there? Yes, you can. This is in granite, very old. The dragon has probably always looked like that. And you can see how the church has been built into the living rock. Absolutely amazing. This is why the chapel was put there, because people were worshipping this rock. And if you go inside, there's this anvil, there's this piece of rock which nobody can date. And if you hit it with a piece of flint, it goes bong. So the dragon sings. This noise is coming out of the belly of the dragon. It's quite an amazing sight. Please visit. So I'm sort of coming back where we started. My current project is Dartmoor Mindscapes, where it's all about how to interact with the primal landscape, and not just its sacred sites, its stone sites, but I put forward the theory that the Tours too were sacred sites, and thousands of years ago people were coming up to the Tours, the Dartmoor Tours, and interacting with what they saw were giants and dragons. Look at this. No Photoshop in that. You go up to Pew Tor, overlooking Merivale, and you'll see the dragon with his mouth open. He's the speaking dragon. No Photoshop. Isn't this amazing? This is about 6 foot across. And you go up on a this is the same view on a total whiteout. I love going up to across Dartmoor in a total misty whiteout, and I call it the dragon's breath. So the dragon's breath has descended. It's just like the Zimmer Bradley novel, you know. And everything is quiet. And then you come out of the darkness and the mist, and you see the dragon waiting to talk to you. And he gifted me some poetry, that dragon. So it's all about walking and connecting with the landscape. Simulacra, they're the original symbolism. People were seeing things like this in the land, and they saw it as being relevant. So I think we are being invited to perceive landscapes as living interfaces, our personal mindscapes, saturated with accessible myths. So look at these. Also, this one's also on Pew Tor. Look at this. This is the dragon. Again, like the stones at Avebury, these rocks have only weathered a few millimetres since prehistory. And I love this one. Can you see? It looks like, I call her Granny the crone. She's almost pulling her tongue out at you. So there's the eye. Isn't it amazing? And on our weekends we visit these sites. And as I'm sitting under there, I know that thousands of years ago, somebody was sitting in the same place. So were these seen as evidence of spirited place? Are these the giants and dragons of myth and folklore, or at least the perpetuation of these myths, why the myths have survived? Look at this. Again, no Photoshop. That dragon head is about 6 foot across. I've coined her the Hook and Tor dragon. She's overlooking Merivale, the Stone Road. She's overseeing everything that goes on below. So I've been trying to seek out in solitude the wild places. And I urge you to all go and seek out the dragon. She's waiting for you, just like the prophets and shamans of old. They've all did it. Buddha, Jesus, Moses, they all took time away on their own to meet their God, to meet their inner dragon. For what space is and landscape is depends on who has experienced it and how. This relationship we have with Mother Earth and the dragons and the serpents is unique for all of us. So don't anybody tell you what you're feeling and what you believe. Don't let anybody invalidate that. Tell them to bugger off. Because we've all got a unique, what the earth wants us to do is to be ourselves, to be unique. It doesn't want a load of clones. That's what corporate people want. At Overtor, I think, is one of my favourite simulacra. Look at this, rising above the ground, looking towards the stars. Some people see this as an eagle or a bear, but equally you could see it as a dragon with its wings folded. This looked like that back in the Bronze Age, I can assure you, and was erected to look like that. How amazing. The dragons and serpents are all around, folks. Went up to Watton Tor recently, one of the most amazing sites. It's very, very isolated on Dartmoor, hours from anywhere. And because I was interested in these two faces. And through here, there's a rock basin where I think people in ancient times did baptism, the equivalent of baptisms and purifications. But the energy going through here is amazing. So I went round the other side and I sat on the ground for about 20 minutes. And straight away, this image of this dragon came through. It was unbelievable. One of the light filling my eyelids was incredible, and I went online and found what I could find the nearest to what I'd seen. And this has got a bit of Photoshop because he was translucent. I could see through him, and it was really the dragon that came through to me that day. So I'm being drawn back there to go and visit the dragon again, because I think she has a lot of things, hopefully, to tell me. So this was a shot I did for the Dartmoor book, greeting the setting sun over Merivale. But it was only afterwards we spotted this. Look, right next to me, there's the dragon, the speaking dragon with his mouth open. So again, if we've seen this, you can bet your life 3,000-4,000 years ago, somebody else saw that. So we are invited to perceive the world as it really is, not how we've been led to believe it is. No more fake news. Yay! So the dragon can just be a walk or a drumbeat away. But I found being humble and being receptive really helps. Get the ego out the way, because boy, will the dragon sort your ego out. Oh yes, no messing. So the dragon's out there for all of us. So it's about stepping out, for me, out through the back of the wardrobe, looking down that rabbit hole to reconnect, to be in our truth, to be authentic. That's another thing the dragon has taught me. I'm drumming here, the dragon is resting his neck, observing the same sunset as I. And this is in Wistman's Wood, where we found this triangular stone, which is a portal to the other dimensions, and took this picture, and look who's in the shot. There's the serpent, come to kind of validate what we were doing. So please come and join us on some of our weekends. We're going to take groups out, such as yourself, out onto Dartmoor, and if you're good, we might even bring you back again. And we do dowsing, communing with the dragons. And I'll just mention this, that every single stone row I've found on Dartmoor isn't straight, it's sinuous. It's the dragon going across the land. Your movement is being choreographed across the landscape in a certain direction. And the energies in the stone rows are amazing. So there's over 80 of these. These are also the serpents of Dartmoor.